Welcome, everybody. We're here today to talk a little bit about the session of using the Charting the LifeCourse Framework to vision and plan. My name is Patricia Brennan. I'm from DDD. We're also being joined by Colleen McLaughlin from the Boggs Center and some awesome panelists, Brenda Figueroa, Cathy Tamburello, and Melanie and Ayers. We're going to talk a little bit about the Charting the LifeCourse Framework and how New Jersey has been implementing it throughout the state. So the objectives of today is following the session, participants will have an understanding of the importance of listening to people and creating a good vision for a good life, be aware of Charting the LifeCourse tools and concepts, have ideas for how to use the tools and plan and vision based upon the experience of others. You're going to hear from some great folks who have been using some of the tools, and know where to learn more and how to get started. So New Jersey has been a member state of the Community of Practice for Supporting Families and been utilizing the Charting the LifeCourse Framework for implementation. The goal that New Jersey came up with as we started upon this journey is for people with disabilities and families to be empowered to communicate their vision for a good life, and for professionals and systems to ask questions, listen, and act on strategies to help reach the visions. So I've been starting every presentation we've been doing about from the division, but with the mission. So really drawing us back to the why. Why are we doing this work? What is the division of developmental disabilities, and how are we get there, and who are we partnering with? The mission for the division at the Department of Human Services is for DDD to assure the opportunity for individuals with developmental disabilities to receive quality services and supports, participate meaningfully in their communities, and exercise their right to make choices. So services and supports have been evolving throughout time. So we look throughout time and we see that in the beginning, it was the person, and you see the family circle around them and the community. So that where everyone was existing within the context of the family and their community and receiving supports just naturally. And then services were tailored based upon the individual with a disability, so that we were able to have traditional disability services. But as we were seeing that, what we were seeing is that the services almost became a barrier between the person and their community, because you had a disability, you were kind of steered towards going to services and supports and getting what you needed from those locations that had traditional disability services. As we're moving forward and looking and really asking what the person wants and being supported within their community, we're seeing that the person should be supported within their community, and the supports and services should be peppered without, so that they can be with the person in the context of the family in their community, supported throughout with whatever supports that they may need to get them to be as integrated as possible. So the supports and services have evolved throughout time, so that people can be supported to be contributing members of the community, so that all people can have the ability to live, love, work, and play within their communities. So I'm going to turn this on over, and we're going to hear from some families who have been utilizing some of the tools. And the first one is going to talk is Brenda. Is going to talk a little bit about her story and how she's been charting the Life with Norberto.
Yes, thank you, Tricia. And it is important for me to say that this is Norberto Micael Jimenez's story as told by me, Brenda Figueroa. So next slide. Okay, so our family moved from Puerto Rico to New Jersey. It is in Puerto Rico that Norberto received his diagnosis of autism. But it is important for me to say that both my children have disabilities. Norberto is eligible for DDD service, but my other son is not. But they both utilize the Charting the Life course to guide them through their journey right now through adulthood. And for the purposes of today's presentation, Norberto has allowed me to openly share his story, while Khalil will only allow certain things that he would like shared, but not everything. So I will focus on Norberto. Next slide. And this is Norberto's life trajectory. We have been utilizing this tool since I learned of it in 2017 while I was doing partners in policymaking. We've utilized this tool to the point that it was added to his IEP. It is in his DVRS file, and he has updated it just recently to reflect that he no longer is in school, and now he is fully immersed in the adult life. So as you can see here, Norberto has, has stated a clear vision of what he wants for his future, which right now it includes he wants to be a gamer, in his words, the best gamer possible. He wants a job, license. He's back to wanting girlfriends. He took a break for a while. He also would like to have a car, vacation to Puerto Rico, which was obviously put on hold because of the pandemic. He wants to own his own house or live independently. Yes, he wants more tattoos. He wants money and to find friends in Ocean County, because we just recently moved from Bergen County to Ocean County. And all of his friends, I guess, are up north. So now he wants to start making connections down here. What he doesn't want is he doesn't want to be with no money, no voice, no choices, no friends, and to be treated like a child, because that is one of his triggers. He really can figure out when people are being condescending to him, and that is not something he likes. So that is something that is very important to him. It is about his life. This is not about what Brenda wants for Norberto. This is about what Norberto wants for Norberto. And the way he gets to his vision that we've carved out a way together is he wants a part-time job. He wants to learn more about his community, which we're working on. He has to study the driver's manual. He saves money by budgeting. He gets help from mom. He has services from Game U, DVRS. Right now he's doing an internship at Honeydew, and he has the support. His support coordinator is also someone who helps him out. And the quote there, "It's my life," means to Norberto, one, it's his favorite song. Two, he's always saying, "It's my choice, it's my life." And that is also what he decided to tattoo as his first tattoo, both in English and Spanish. Next slide. So the integrated support star. And one of the things that we love about the Charting the LifeCourse framework is that it's a visual tool. And that is one of the things that both my children excel in. So when you break it down into their personal strengths and assets, relationships, eligibility specific, community-based technology, it kind of carves out a map, and it helps when we get a little bit stuck on, okay, what's the next step? So under his personal strengths and assets, you can see he has a great memory. He's really good with time management. He's a planner. So for example, now that he continues to say he wants to live independently, he wants to start helping with meal prep, because he says, when I'm on my own, I need to know how to cook. So we've started with simple recipes at home. So he's always planning ahead. He does adjust to change, which is good. We know sometimes people on the spectrum might struggle, but that is not one of the things that affects Norberto. So that does become a personal strength. He is very organized, extremely organized. He is very tech savvy. He has money skills. He does his own, like I said, budgeting, and he has had his debit card since he was 13. So he manages somewhat his own finances with my help. And he's always eager to learn new skills. Yeah, and budgeting, I will say that he does the cash envelope system as well, and that is something that we continue to work on. So in terms of his relationships, he relies on me, of course, Carmine, who is my boyfriend, we live together, his brother Khalil, Penny, who's our pet, has become a support system for Norberto, because when he's stressed out, he can always go play with her and get lots of, love from her. He has my sister with his two cousins who always help him out. His dad and friends would include Fanny, Reina, and Ken, who is also his PCA, but has become his go-to young guy figure. And then he also recently, we have made a connection with our neighbors that you will understand where that connection comes from, and that is Elena and Danny. So in terms of that connection, we were able to speak to them and try to figure out how to navigate some stuff in our community. Because one thing we learned really, really quickly is that the community here in Ocean County is a little bit different than in Bergen County. I knew nothing about it. Something as simple as finding a barber was becoming very challenging because people were recommending, old school barber shops, which that doesn't work if you have a 22-year-old who wants a very stylish haircut. So I had a side conversation with Elena, and she goes, well, our neighbor Danny owns a barber shop. Why don't you talk to him? So I took Norberto to Danny. We had a conversation, and we found a great barbershop, Zebulon, here in Toms River, New Jersey. Was able to have a conversation with the barber. I said, all I need is your name. How do you guys take payment? And he will show you a picture and as of his haircut. And as time progresses, you will understand the way he communicates. And he was like, fine. And that is now something we have in the community that is not specific to disability, but it's a service that he can go and get as any other person would. We are still in need of learning a little bit more about community. So we're trying to explore things like the library, the neighborhood, and the parks. The pandemic sort of gets a little bit in the way, also winter, but we are striving to learn a bit more. So in terms of eligibility specific services, some stuff has changed because he is now in the adult system. So we went from SSI to SSDI. We still require Medicaid, DDD services, support coordination. He is self-directed both under DDD and the PPP program. He's also under DVRS and GAME-U. And I would like to state that he recently advocated to keep the same instructor in GAME-U. So because while he liked everyone, he wanted a specific instructor. So he changed his schedule around a bit to accommodate that he can continue with that instructor. Now he is moving forward to advocating that he wants to continue this service virtually and not in person. And then we have technology. He has his smartphone, PC, and because he's also a gamer, so that becomes an important tool for him. He utilizes the Amazon Dot to help him with things like weather and time. And he likes using the Google Calendar. We use the Google Calendar as a tool for the whole family, Lyft and Uber, and then Uber Eats. So those are things that we utilize to help. These tools will change. His vision of his good life has changed a bit as well, but that's part of all of this. And I think we all can say that as adults, we change. My vision when I was in my 20s is not my vision now that I'm in my 40s, and the same happens for our children. And we just have to allow them the opportunity to grow. And these tools, like I said, help both my children in guiding them so they can map out this journey that they're on, and it allows Norberto to self-direct a little smoother. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Brenda. What a wonderful example of utilizing the Charting the LifeCourse framework as Norberto transitioned from school into adult life, and even now as you transition into a new neighborhood. So thank you for sharing that. I'd like to introduce Cathy Tamburello, who is going to teach us about how she's used the tools with her family and her son, Michael, and also how she's taught others to utilize the tools in her role as an advocate. Cathy, welcome.
Okay, sorry, I was muted. So thank you. So let me introduce Michael to you. Michael is my oldest child. He is now 36 years old, which is kind of mind-boggling to me. Michael loves being with his family, his sister Jenna. He's developed a good relationship with his brother-in-law Jared, and now he has 2 nephews. And he enjoys being with his friends. Next slide. In terms of creating a vision for Michael, Michael needs us to help him do that. Michael is a nonverbal communicator, but because he is nonverbal it does not mean that he doesn't communicate. Michael does communicate, and he does so very, very clearly. We have to help people understand that he needs the time to do that, and to help them understand the ways that he does that through gestures and pictures. But he will very clearly communicate his choices and the things that he wants and needs. It's challenging to have people understand Michael and understand who he is. And I think what the value of the tools for us has been is it's been a great way for people to understand Michael and for us to articulate a shared vision, and really to bring people in to join us in that vision and give their perspective. So, here are some of the things that we know about Michael. He does love being actively involved with his family. He will consistently communicate his wants and needs, but again, people need to understand that he's going to need time to do that, and they have to give him that time. He enjoys a diverse set of leisure activities, and we're always looking to expand things. And again, he will make choices, and he will let people know what he likes and he doesn't like. And I think it's really important for that to be respected. I think sometimes when someone is not a verbal communicator, they aren't given the time to make those choices. And I think by using these tools, we've been able to really help people understand that Michael will make those choices. He needs to be healthy. Michael has a lot of medical challenges, and our goal is to find, he has a number of specialists that work with him, but we'd like to get them to collaborate a little bit more with each other. So by articulating this, we've been able to get better references and work more collaboratively with the set of doctors. Michael needs to maintain his physical fitness, and sometimes he needs a little encouragement to do that. So that is part of our vision. He needs a social circle, and he needs to enjoy diverse community activities. And most of all, we want Michael to be safe and cared for. So, on top of it, it says my vision for my families, but I really would want to change that to our vision. Our vision is based on all the people that know and love Michael, but mostly it's based on Michael, because again, he does let us know what he likes and what he wants, and what is meaningful to him. We can go to the next slide. So this is Michael's support star. As Brenda stated, this is something that we see as always in motion. It's not a one and done. We are always looking at the support star, and we really needed to kind of relook at it after the pandemic, because a number of the supports and the activities and the things that we had in place with Michael changed because of the pandemic, and some of them were not available to him for obvious reasons. Michael's strengths are that he learns routines. He will communicate through gestures, sign, and pictures, and he'll use a combination of all of those. He will make choices. He understands directions, especially paired with visuals. And I think that's an important thing for people to know, that Michael does have hearing loss. So sometimes the visuals are very necessary for him to make sense of the world around him. He enjoys sensory activities. Those poppets that are now the rage are something he has grown to love. And he really enjoys being outside and getting out and going for long walks. The people in his life are all of us: mom, sister, brother-in-law, nephews, extended family. Michael has an incredibly involved and supported family for which we are always grateful. His peers But, we do need to now re-expand some of his social activities. He was very involved with activities at the Y. That kind of got lost a little bit with the pandemic. And we're looking to get some more mentors involved with him. Michael has DDD services, Medicaid, and Social Security. Community-based, he loves to go out to eat, but he sometimes has difficulty with the patience that you might need if things don't come quickly enough. But we've been lucky enough to make a very wonderful relationship with a local pizzeria. They know Michael and they work with Michael and they welcome Michael. And that has just been wonderful. It gives him a whole set of people to interact with. We like the local parks, but we want to go back to swimming, which is important for him, getting out and shopping and doing some of the other things that we weren't able to do as much of during the pandemic. Michael has become very interested in his iPad, and we're very grateful for that. He uses it for communication, but he also uses it for recreation with movies, games, music. And it was our way of keeping him connected with all the people in his life during the pandemic. FaceTime became very, very important for us. But I think the main thing to understand is the support star is a living document, and it should be something that you're always looking at and always adding to and reassessing. And as Brenda well said, things change over the course of a person's life. So next slide, please. So I wanted to break out, a few of the priorities. Michael is an individual who has very complex needs and has a number of challenges to deal with. So I think it's important for people to know what works for him. He will work well with a variety of short activities. I think people who expect him to stay with something for a longer period of time find that to be frustrating. I give him a lot of breaks, but then that makes it easier to re-engage him. The activities, we always want them to be a mix of community and functional and leisure activities, but it's important to know that he does require assistance. But people should always continually fade that. I think if you looked back at the pictures that we showed at the beginning of Michael, Michael is 36 years old, but he looks like a 12-year-old. Michael has Charge syndrome, so he is very tiny, and people tend to treat him as just that, as a child, and they lose sight of the fact that he is a 36-year-old adult. So it's very important that we remind people of that, and that he is respected as an adult. Healthy living is a big issue for him. It's an ongoing challenge. His medical needs are complicated. So, we're always looking at those. In terms of advocacy, I think very often when people see Michael, they just assume that he does not advocate for himself. But again, I think it's very important to know that he does make choices and he should be given those choices, and those choices should be respected. Things like what he wants to eat, what he wants to do. But he does need supports to do that. And he needs the pictures and or the objects themselves to know what kind of choices that he wants. I think what the tools have done for us is it is always a jumping off point when new people come into Michael's life to help them understand who he is and how to best interact with him. We're very, in terms of supports for the family, as hard as it is to talk about, we do talk about succession planning, meaning that right now I'm Michael's quarterback, but the day will come, hopefully not soon, but the day will come when I can no longer be Michael's quarterback. And so Jenna and I, his sister, who is 31, and she's actually an occupational therapist, we now tag team. We have co-guardianship, and I involved Jenna and her husband in all of the discussions and decisions about Michael, because I want that to be seamless. We realized that we needed to organize all of the many documents that come with Michael in a way that they can easily access them and know where they are. We have a shared Google Drive with all of the important information about Michael, so that if for whatever reason I could not step in for Michael, they can step in seamlessly. So we did see that. And I think using the tools really gave us the focus to look at all of that. Next slide, please. So I also do a lot of work as an advocate. I have worked extensively with the Family Support Organization in Essex County, advocating for families in terms of IEP services and their school programs. And I also am a retired school administrator. I ran a program for students with autism. I have always felt that when you want to start to look at how to build an IEP, you have to first know where you'd like to see your child. And that really is true for across the lifespan. Life is full of transitions. You transition from preschool to kindergarten, and from elementary to middle to high school, and then eventually to adult life. These tools really are a good basis for getting all the people involved in developing your child's program and then moving your child into a successful adult life, so that everybody is on the same page and they can build an IEP and eventually an ISP around what the ultimate goal and vision is. So, you know, I always start, people do it differently, but this is the way I start, with the vision tool to create the vision. And then the star helps us take stock of where we are. And then it gets broken down into the smaller components with the domains. Next slide, please. I think, you know, we want to facilitate successful transitions. I would, you know, I say to parents all the time as part of my advocacy, I hear your vision and you're frustrated because the school is not articulating your vision, but you have to share your vision if you want them on the same page and you want to come to a collaborative effort. So these tools really are the perfect way to do that. I've used them successfully with children as young as 5 who are moving from kindergarten into elementary school. And I think at every step of the way, you know, if you have a child in middle school and they're moving towards high school, look ahead with these tools to look at what kinds of skills are going to be needed, what kinds of vision what does your child want out of their high school experience, and get that down onto a vision. I think the tools are, for me, they're meant to be shared with family, with friends, with community contacts, and with service providers. And really to come to a full vision, I think input from all of those people. I know for us, sometimes the person who sets my mind straight the most is my mom, who's 88. And I will be looking at something for Michael and she'll just look at me and say, "Why are you doing that? He doesn't like that." So I think having all of the people that are involved with your child, and of course, it was so great to hear Brenda's son, Norberto's vision. We need to do that for Michael, but certainly the individual themselves should be the focus and the primary objective. Next slide, please. So I think the other thing that's been really good about the tools is it takes the focus off just the services. There are supports everywhere. I use the example of the pizzeria. We found supports there. Until I got to know everyone at that pizzeria, it was difficult for Michael to go out to eat. But in working with them and in their welcoming him and knowing him, going out to eat is a really successful activity for Michael now. Brenda spoke about finding a support for the haircut through a neighbor. I think it's important to engage with people and to talk about where you're going with your child, because I think you'll find supports where you least expect them. Next slide, please. And I think one of the most critical times and one of the most useful times for the tools is during the transition years, as kids are transitioning out of school into adult life. And I think what the tools really show us and make us focus on is that successful transition is a group effort between family, friends, community sports, and service providers. And, the tools become the center of a collaborative effort. And, it really brings all of the supports into one place so we can see where we have needs, what we do have, and how the supports have been successful. A good school-based transition plan is going to start with an individual's vision. So is an ISP. So I think the tools really give us a good center to get all of those things down on paper. And I think getting them down on paper is critical because then you can look at it and you can, kind of feng shui it, if you will, and, make that something that's a living document that moves forward with the individual. So with that, I'll turn it back to you, Colleen.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Cathy. And also to Michael for sharing of himself and your story. This is a great way to use the tools. I'd next like to introduce Emma Ayers, who is here to share her story along with her mom, Melanie. So welcome, Melanie and Emma.
Thank you. So hello, I'm Melanie Ayers.
And I am Emma Ayers.
And we're going to share a little bit about her story. Emma is a beautiful 24-year-old young lady who has Down syndrome. And even though I started planning her post-high school life for several months before she aged out of school, her transition after leaving high school, it was still very challenging for us. She went from being in school a full day, plus she had a part-time job at McDonald's several evenings a week, and then it went to nothing during the day. I was working full time and it wasn't good for her just to sit at home with nothing to do. And I was too busy to keep her entertained and stimulated. So Emma got a second job at a local grocery store, but that didn't work out. And then she was back to just her few hours in the evenings at McDonald's. Needless to say, the pandemic put a monkey wrench into everything. But we were able to work through it. And now we are finally in a good place. Next slide, please. So to start off, I attended the Partners in Policy Making program almost 3 years ago now. And that's where I was introduced to the Charting the LifeCourse program tools. For my homework, I brought the trajectory home and I completed it with Emma. It really sparked good conversation about what Emma wanted for her best life. And soon after that, we ended up changing support coordination agencies and we were meeting with a new support coordinator. And it was so easy to articulate what her wants and needs were since we had just done this trajectory and we just had these conversations. So it was great. And so we recently just sat down again and created another trajectory, which you're seeing now, to prepare for this conference. So Emma, can you tell them what you feel is your best life? What are the goals for your life?
Excuse me. For my best life, I like to work really hard at my jobs. I like to go explore new places with my brothers and parents. I like spending time with my family and friends. I like to hang out with them. I like to learn new things, like I want to learn new languages. For fun, I like to go out to concerts, go to the movie theater. I love going out to eat at restaurants, and I want to be in the dance class again.
So as you can see from the life trajectory, we needed to coordinate several things to make Emma's goals a reality. So first, you can see the challenges that we faced. So transportation has been challenging just to be able to get rides arranged for the times that we needed. She is signed up for Access Link and then our local Scoot bus, which serves the disabled population here in Salem County. But again, you need to be able to arrange for the times that you need. In our area, it just seemed like there's very little opportunities for people with disabilities. And then when the pandemic hit, I kept Emma home from McDonald's for like 3 months because I was afraid she was going to get sick. That's in the beginning where everything was really unknown. And with her having Down syndrome, she was vulnerable to getting sick. But then when she did go back, instead of her 4 nights a week, she only had availability to work 2 nights a week because their dining room was still closed and there was less work to be done. So when we look on this trajectory down at what Emma does not want for her life, obviously she does not like to be bored. She has a lot of plans for her life. She loves to go to new places. She loves to go do things and activities. And we, as you can see on the top left, we were able to identify several supports for Emma to help her achieve some of her goals. So now to describe what we did. So Emma needed something to do during the day. So I reached out to a local center for independent living called Resources for Independent Living. And they had worked with Emma's high school class doing pre-employment training, teach them how to do resumes and different things like that. So I wanted to see what programs they offered for adults. They are great, and their supervisor, just like Cathy said, you can't just pick services that are on the list. Like, we got to think outside of the box. She's like, well, what does Emma want to do? And I was sitting there thinking, well, what do you mean? What does Emma want to do? What do you offer? She's like, we'll do whatever Emma wants to do, which I thought was great. And that was really my first introduction to like person-centered care. So they created a program 3 mornings a week that challenged Emma, brought in her interest. They did some employment training and independent living skills with her. Now that they're back in person, they've gone on special trips throughout the year. Like before the pandemic, they went swimming at the lake. They recently went bowling for Valentine's Day. They have holiday parties, which they combine with the clients from their other location. So they do a lot of fun things there. And then even when they shut down for the pandemic, they were only closed for about 3 weeks. And then they got all of their workers' laptops so they could do virtual programming with the clients. So Emma was in a class of 5, and they did virtual cooking lessons. They did virtual exercise programs. They did arts and crafts. They had a book club. They worked on math skills, and they played games. So, and now that they're back in person, they're still doing all of those same things. And they have also arranged for transportation to take Emma to her program and back home again, which is really helpful, especially when I have to go back into the office. So next, through a close family friend and having a conversation with her doctor one day, we were able to get her a job at a local doctor's office. He mentioned to my friend that he wanted to hire somebody with disabilities to be kind of like his way of giving back. So our friend recommended Emma. We got in touch with the doctor, and I've known him for years because I work in healthcare, and I've known him for a long time. And he brought Emma in for an interview that week and hired her on the spot. So Emma is now an office assistant, and she files various reports into the proper patient records, and it's all electronic. And I wasn't sure if she was actually able to do this kind of work, but Emma said she wanted to try. She surprised me. Not the doctor, he had full confidence in her, but she surprised me, and she's done really well with it. And so now she's been there for a year and a half. She loves it. They love her. They call her the mayor because she knows everybody. She knows all the patients that come in, and not just from the doctor's office, but from school and from church and from here and from there. So yeah, they call her the mayor. And they have really welcomed her into their work family, and they've told me how much they look forward to having her come in the 2 evenings a week that she works. So now between her job at McDonald's and the doctor's office and her time at Resources for Independent Living, she now has something to do and be productive at for 20 hours a week, which we're thrilled about. And so finally, as Emma started to go back into work, I needed extra help during the times when I couldn't be home with Emma, because now I'm going back into the office at times and different things that I need to do. So we looked into hiring a self-directed employee. And even though we could have hired an employee through an agency, Emma was most comfortable in hiring her brother as a self-directed employee. He understands her needs very well, and it was a good fit for us. So he helps by helping her get her meals. He even helps her learn how to cook. They like to cook together. He takes her to work for me. He takes her to other activities, and he keeps her entertained when we're at home. He's even watched Emma on vacation for us, so like mom and dad could have time by ourselves, and then they would hang out together. So this arrangement has really worked well for our family. So You can see that we have kind of pieced her schedule and her activities together by using employment, day programming, as well as hiring an SDE to kind of pull everything together and have a workable schedule for us. The support coordinator, she's been great at helping to arrange these services and the payments through her DDD budget for the day programming and for hiring her SDE. So next slide. So the other tool that we used was the integrated support star. And as you can see, we listed as many supports in the different categories that we could think of to help us get Emma to her best life. So a quick rundown. We use technology for Emma to attend her virtual classes via Zoom, and she used her iPad for that or our laptop. And she uses a computer for her job at the doctor's office. I was able to go in and train her for about 3 weeks, and then she's been on her own on that computer system there. As far as the relationships, we have family and friends who they are always advocating for Emma, and they always keep their eyes and ears open for any kind of opportunities that they think she might like. As far as her disability eligible services through her DDD budget, so that allows her to attend her day program and have her SDE. The community-based supports section is where she was able to get her jobs because there were people willing to give her a chance. We just had to network and find them. And some of Emma's strengths are that she is very friendly, she's fun, and she's very respectful, and she has a great work ethic. She likes to learn new things, and which is great when you're at work and when you're at a day program. Liking to learn new things is really an asset. So despite being a struggle, we have a great schedule now that is quite full for Emma. This year, we have also thrown in other opportunities like the local Challenger Baseball League. She's done a couple of seasons with them, and that's going to be coming up here in the next month or two. She's got season tickets to a local playhouse, which she loves seeing live theater. Yeah, and Emma, she always helps us pick out vacation sites. She's part of the vacation planning. So for me, my to-do list now is to find dance classes and language classes for her, since she just recently identified that is some new goals for herself. So again, like both ladies said, you know, this isn't a one and done. We've got to keep interviewing our kids and saying, hey, what are your goals now? How have things changed? So that's what we just did, and now I have more work to do. but we'll get there. So she, again, wants to continually grow and learn, which keeps our life from being boring. That's for sure. So on this slide, you could see how Emma is living her best life. And I thought it was really the best way to show you was through pictures. So these are some of our vacation pictures. You see pictures from concerts that we went to. So at the one concert, who did you get to meet?
Luke Bryan.
Luke Bryan. You see the country star there. He came down and gave her a great big old hug. One of my favorite pictures ever. She was also in her cousin's wedding as a bridesmaid. She was in a Bollywood dance class. That's what the top two on the left, those pictures. That's her boyfriend in the middle at his birthday party. When she was in high school, she was the homecoming court. She was on the homecoming court, voted by her peers, and that's her brother. He was in football at the time. And then again, that's her brother down there who surprised her at the Night to Shine prom just before the pandemic hit. Then this last slide, there's a picture of her working at McDonald's. The picture next to that is her work group from the doctor's office. That was her Christmas party at the local brewery. On the top right, that's where she was doing some virtual cooking classes through her day program. And of course, she loves to go out to eat. More vacation pictures. That's her with her little cousins at the bottom. She dressed up like Wednesday Addams for Halloween, and she was on the float at the Halloween parade in Alloway with her Resources for Independent Living crew. And then another vacation picture at the last one. So as you can see, we are trying our best to help Emma reach her goals and live her best life. So I want to thank you for listening to our story and hope that it may inspire you to find the support you need for giving someone their best life.
Thank you, everyone.
Many thanks to these wonderful families coming from a variety of life and service experiences to share how they use Charting the Life Course to plan and vision. In order to support people with disabilities to live the lives that they want, it's important that we always keep their visions in sight. Today, we only shared a snapshot of how people are using Charting the Life Course concepts in planning, and that shouldn't stop you from diving right in and doing it yourself. Everyone is welcome to go to www.lifecoursetools.com to download a series of templates and watch videos to learn more. We at the Boggs Center also offer a series of workshops for people with disabilities, family members, support coordinators, with more workshops to come to help people put these concepts to use regularly to plan, vision, and problem solve. We thank you all for joining us today.